Hmm. What am I gonna do? Cause I could go on Facebook and browse around Facebook. Peanut butter. Hmm. Let's check out what's on Spotify. Other than bittersweet. Aw. Somebody posted a picture of a sweet kitten on Facebook. That's so cute. Oh, it's so and so's birthday. Here, let me. Happy birthday. I'm so bored. Scrolling. Oh. Oh. Hey. Yeah. Sorry about that. Uh, I didn't know the camera was recording. Now you get an inside view to my everyday life. I know. Aren't you just as shocked as I am that I'm not I'm not looking up how to. I'm not Googling, chlorophyll, and I'm not Googling suffocation or how to blow up a theater or how to make a pipe bomb. That's weird, right? Yeah. Considering how I look, that's really weird. I just thought I'd put a little humor into my video. Obviously, we all know about this school shooting in Connecticut. Very, very sad. Not gonna deny that. My problem that I'm having right now is this misinformed media. They have said that Adam Lanza, the shooter, that he's goth and that he suffers from Asperger's. And I made the comment to my husband, Devin, that we're screwed and we really probably can't leave the house for a couple weeks because, I'm goth and he has Asperger's. So apparently we need to band together and shoot up an old folks home or something. I've actually gotten 2 messages on Facebook about this. I guess you'd say the more violently oriented one. Aren't you goth? What's wrong with you people? You're sick psychos. By the way, person, if you're watching this, you definitely didn't spell psychos anywhere near right. I just have to sit back and laugh because this happens all the time. When something like this happens, there's has to be a scapegoat. There's always something. Everybody has problems. There's always something that's different or unique to each individual case. And the media, and that's really what this is about. This is about the media, the misinformed media. I mean, there's a contest between these media giants. They, you want to be the first person out there with new information and new facts to the point where that the authenticity of those facts gets lost in translation. Because I had read an article earlier about how they linked Asperger's and other forms of autism with high aggression. And then they came back, I'd say an hour later maybe, and they edited their article that they posted. But the point of the damage is already done. I mean, how many people are really going to go back and reread that article? So now people have this false information, and it's like that game you used to play in school where, you start off somebody saying the dog is blue, and then by the end of the last person in your class, you tell your last classmate, and they're saying there's a green duck on Mars. You know what I'm saying? Every time this information gets passed down, there's a breakdown of communication. So now because this article falsely stated this completely untrue fact about Asperger's in relation to this shooter, now everybody's going to take that as the fact, the true fact, and they're going to start telling other people. And then it's going to turn out oh my God, all people with mental illnesses need to be thrown into some kind of asylum. And I think that's completely wrong. And it's the same thing with the goths. I read the original article about them mentioning goth, and what it was is the mother of one of the students. It's not the student said to his mother that the kid, the shooter, was goth. So the mother told the media, interviewed her, oh, this kid is goth. And when I read that, I panicked because, a lot of the stuff with Columbine shooting, people think that they were goths and they listen to evil Marilyn Manson and everything. So soon as I read that, I knew that there was going to be trouble. Because once again, goths are made into like the scapegoat. And now they're bringing, this Asperger's syndrome into it, which is completely, all right, fine. You want to pick on goths, whatever. We're weird. There's a lot to go on. I understand that. But, I mean, autistic people, really? Can we not just keep, our facts straight and actually report, what's really happening here? And it's the fact that some guy, we don't even know anything about him yet. This is all speculation, really. It's circumstantial. And to be honest, we'll never truly know because obviously this man is dead. And we're never going to know what's truly going on. His mother's dead. We can't, it's not like you can go ask her mother. I mean, they interviewed the brother. And I don't even think that's a viable source because, family members don't get along or there's like a long-standing grudge. They could say anything. They could just agree with everything the media says, like, yeah, I don't, they could be like, I don't want to deal with this right now. Yeah, whatever they said, that's totally true. So they don't even have to tell the truth. And then again, it gets lost in translation. And then we have issues like this. There's always something about somebody. Everybody has an issue. Everybody has a problem. That's just the way we are. If this guy, he could have been anything. He could have been involved in anything. He could have had any kind of condition. He could have had Munchausen syndrome or something, and people would have just jumped on that. Be like, people with Munchausen's, this is the kind of stuff they do to get attention. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just, and when you think about it, Jacob Roberts, James Holmes, Adam Lanza, they all had their issues. They all did these terrible shootings. And then, for some reason, we feel like it's our job as a society to sit there and judge the rest of society based on what these few people do. You never hear about people, who go out every day and help homeless vets and sacrifice their time and energy. You never hear about the good things when they happen, the extraordinarily good things. You always hear about the extremely evil things. Not even about, the mediocre good. You don't hear about any good. It's all about the evil shit. And you never hear, anything positive, really, that goes on in this world. And then I sat there and I thought to myself, I can't really recall if they said that James Holmes, what specific mental disorder he may or may not be suffering from. But when you think about it, aren't we all James Holmes? Aren't we all Adam Lanzas? We all share, a common genetic makeup. And, there's things about that genetic makeup that make us different. But I guarantee that somebody who's outside of the acts that they committed that were obviously atrocious. I guarantee somebody who's an Adam Lanza, who's a James Holmes, who's a Jacob Roberts, who's a Timothy McVeigh. People like this. They're everyday people just walking around. They might bring your mail. They might fix your car. They might be your next door neighbor. We don't know. You never know until something like this happens. So in a way, you can't judge society on this one person. And by doing so, all you're really doing is judging yourself. And I mean, society can only be as good as the individual people in it. That's one way to look at it. But you cannot individually hold what one person does against other people. If you understand what I'm saying here, like, one way to look at this situation is our society is only as good as its lowest members. That is like a good way to look at society in some aspects, because it makes us want to strive to have a better society. But at the same time, you can't sit there and blame individuals, people in society, based on what one person does, an individual group. So you can't base, any kind of argument or opinion against goths or against people with mental defect based on these people. These are just random instances. It's not like every person with these lifestyles and with these diseases, this isn't what they're all like. And that's why I did that stupid banter in the beginning of the video. Like, I'm not sitting here plotting to kill anybody. I'm sitting here watching Lockup on MSNBC, eating a peanut butter sandwich and petting my cat. That's what I'm doing. That's what my every night is. So, I think that was the biggest point that I want to get out there, because it's shocking when you think about it. And that, like I said, aren't we all Adam Lanza's and James Holmes and Timothy McVeigh's? Aren't we all? We all have those same, we might not have the exact same traits, but we all share, similar feelings and emotions. It could have been anybody. I'm sure that these people involved in all of these different shootings and bombings, you always hear that they were just like, I sat next to them at church every Sunday. Our kids played baseball together. Before you sit there and you're going to judge a whole group of people based on one person's actions, that all that does is just speak about your character. And it's really sad that so many innocent people have been taken in, this past year and in these past few weeks alone by these individuals who clearly were at their breaking point, clearly slipped through the cracks somehow. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for them. There's no excuse, but I'm just saying a lot of times, in some way or another, these people slip through the cracks. And it's in a way, it's sad for them too, that they felt reduced as a human being to do this kind of stuff. And what makes it sadder is all these innocent people were taken by these people that slipped through the cracks. But at the same time, there are so many innocent people who are being affected, who have nothing to do with this. There's so many innocent people outside of the people who are actually, their lives were taken. There's so many victims in this. And because of this, media, overabsorption of media and just people's prejudices and people's fears in general, then that blows up and now you have 10 times more victims than you started out with. Not all goths are gonna shoot something up. Not all goths are gonna, mug you or, push your grandma down the stairs. It's not gonna happen. Not all people with mental disease are just dangerous people waiting to snap. It's not the case. And this is where society fails, in a way, is because we have this over-absorption of media that does not really care about reporting, the cold hard facts of something. It's a race. It's about ratings. It's a competition for them. And there's so many casualties of this media war. It's really sad. And this is where we fail as a society, because people like James Holmes, Adam Lanza, Jacob Roberts, we fail them as a society, really. The issue isn't gun control. The issue isn't, prisons failing. This is just simply a failure on so many different aspects. Like, for instance, if you're going to take James Holmes, he tried to seek help and it wasn't, it wasn't given. Not that, not what he needed. he slipped through the cracks. And the outcome of that was, obviously shooting up an entire theater of people. We shouldn't let people get to that point. There should be more standards in place. There should be better help out there for these people. It will eventually come out something, whether it be true or not. Eventually something is going to come out about Adam Lanza, about his life, about who he was. And unfortunately, because of the media, it's all going to be it's all going to be demonized. It's all going to be turned up on its head. Nobody's going to sit there and say, this kid was a normal kid, or even, this kid was a troubled kid who needed help. Nobody's going to say that. They're going to say that he was some kind of monster. Nobody is going to care about the person he was, and nobody's going to care that, I'm sure there's people out there who are personally responsible, besides himself. I mean, obviously, there should be a level of personal responsibility, but, nobody's going to take responsibility for that. We're just going to sit there and get a scapegoat like the Goss or like people with Asperger's. We're going to have a scapegoat because we can't handle the fact that we are all the cause of these people slipping through the cracks. And you know what? You want to blame Goss for this, or you want to drag, Goss through the mud like this because it's easier for you to cope with, fine. But please take some personal responsibility and really think about how you are involved in this situation. I mean, take an aspect of yourself and compare it to what's going on in this situation. Are you the teacher that saw the signs of abuse and were too busy to do something about it, or didn't want to get involved because you felt too nosy? Are you the guidance counselor that the student came to and said, I feel homicidal, I feel suicidal, and you just talked them down and sent them back to class? Are you the doctor that are you the doctor that ignored the obvious signs and just threw them on a medication because you're getting paid to do that? You know what I mean? There's some aspect of your life that you can relate to these incidents, and there's some aspects of your life that you should really reevaluate. These things happen, and nobody really learns from them, and nobody takes anything away from them. In the first couple weeks of something like this happening, like, we start off pretty good, and then within a couple weeks, it's it's by the wayside. I mean, so instead of just sitting there and talking a good game, and then and sitting there and just blaming other people, don't sit there and play the blame game. Don't sit there and judge other people. But it's cause for reflection, because society and these people that fall through the cracks of society, that's not going to stop happening at all. I don't think that's going to ever stop happening at all, but it's not going to get better. It's not going to slow down unless we take incidents like this, and instead of blaming other people and trying to make excuses and scapegoats, we take what we can from it on a personal level, and take what you will from it and use it to better yourself, use it to help others, use it to better the society. But that's all I want to say. Like, sit there and really think about it. We're all that shooter in some way. We all are, and we all know someone. So now's the time for you to sit back and take some personal responsibility and start taking something to better yourself and thus better society with. So just want to let you know, guys, I'm not plotting to do anything crazy. I am plotting to raid the refrigerator right now. No, I'm not racist against refrigerators. I'm not, I don't have some kind of, like, personal grudge against the refrigerator. It's just that happens to be where the food is. So I'm going to raid the refrigerator. I'm going to take off my makeup and my clothes. Get ready to go watch some more TV. Gonna watch Lockup. You know, I figure I watch Lockup on MSNBC where they go into the prison. I might see some of my homeboys. Because apparently I am a criminal by association. I don't mean to make light of this, guys. It's just, that's how I deal with these things. But really, no, in all seriousness, really think about the things I talked about in this video. Keep each other safe. Keep each other close. And if I don't see you guys again before the holidays, I hope I do. Happy holidays to everybody, to whatever faith you belong to. Hope you enjoy your holiday. If you're not a holiday person, then I hope you have a terrific week. I'm sorry that everything is closed on Christmas and you're not going to be able to go out. That sucks, right? When you're like an atheist or and everything's closed and you're all pissed off because you want to like do something, right? So I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that for you. Alright, guys. I'm going to go before I make an ass out of myself. Alright, love you guys. Talk to you later.